Welcome to another episode of Marketing Tips for Doctors. I'm your host, Dr. Barbara Hales. Today, we have with us a special guest, Ty Cohen. Today's guest is someone who went from spending 10 years behind a pharmacy counter to building a digital business that runs with clarity, confidence, and purpose. He's the founder of the Digital Business Builder Blueprint, a 6-month coaching experience where he helps professionals, coaches, creatives, and everyday action takers turn what they know into digital products, coaching offers, and businesses they can run, grow, or even sell one day. What makes his approach different is that it's not about overnight results or going viral, which we will hope for anyway. It's about creating real solutions, real systems, and a business that gives you freedom without burnout. He's here today to talk about what it really takes to build something online that lasts and how to shift from trading hours for dollars to building a business that runs with more structure and less stress. Welcome to the show, Ty.
Hey, Barbara, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what we're going to talk about today.
Yes, well, we're going to be talking about you partially because you're going to give our listeners some great advice and great tips that they'll be able to implement right away.
Let's do it.
So take us back. What was your life like before you discovered digital business? And like what has it been like since?
Yeah, so working at Walgreens Pharmacy, we got paid off a stipend, right? So we put in 55 hours at a minimum a week. So that was my life. So my life was work. It seemed like I would get up, go to work, go home, get something to eat, get up, go to work, go home, so it was like Groundhog Day every single day. And my life consisted of work. It consisted of being at Walgreens. It consisted of with customers. It consisted of meetings. It consisted very little of myself or my family. And at that time I was just growing a family. Right. So it's super important to be there. And I just felt like everything was Walgreens Pharmacy. Right.
Well,
So
I think that a lot of doctors can certainly relate to that. They go to work, they
yeah.
come home, they fall asleep, and then the next day they're back at work without spending any time from the office for their loved ones.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that what happens is, when I first started doing this, Barbara, I didn't have any role models, so I didn't have any examples. So it's not like now. You can turn on YouTube, you can turn on Instagram, you see people that have digital businesses everywhere. And what I did know is I did know that I wanted to be different. And I think that's what it takes sometimes is wanting to be different. So I started to study business. And as I studied business more and more, I started to dabble in it. And I realized like it may be scary, but this is the freedom that I was after. And for me, it's like tasting it's the first bite. And that first bite, I was totally hooked. So I would come home after Walgreens and I'm already dead tired. And many of your audience members, you guys can probably relate to this. But it felt like after I left those doors, I had this new energy because I knew that I was going home to work on this thing that would pull me away from where I was at. And I would then go home and I would put another 3 or 4 hours into studying my digital business. And that was the beginning for me right there. And since then, I've helped literally tens of thousands of people to do the same thing.
How did you go from having no audience or tech skills to building your first digital product?
Yep. So that's a great question. So I'll be honest with you. It is being genuine. It's being authentic. It's listening to your customer base. It is being willing to not help everyone and only help the people that are in alignment with you. And then when you do that, when you make that decision, it took me years to get to that point. Then you can talk to those people and they're willing to listen to you. They're willing to have a conversation. And then selling, which is always hard for everyone, becomes easier because now you're not selling. You're helping someone that genuinely wants to be helped.
You talk a lot about building a business that doesn't burn you out. What does that actually look like?
Yeah, so a business that doesn't burn you out looks like this. it looks like I've got a meeting with Barbara. I can go in and I can make that meeting. And after I make that meeting, I can then go out to lunch with my wife if I wanted to. Right? It looks like on a Thursday, I can go to the beach if I wanted to because it's starting to get nice out here. It looks like if my wife says, hey, let's go to France 2 weeks from now, we can go and we can plan it because I don't have obligations. She doesn't have obligations, and we have that time and that availability.
Okay,
So
let's
one, oh, go ahead.
sounds good. So for someone listening who's never heard of digital publishing, although nowadays it's hard to think of nobody having heard it, or digital products, how would you explain it in simple terms?
Oh, that's a good one. So digital products, digital publishing is basically taking something that you are passionate about or that you're knowledgeable about, and then packaging it in a digital format. So that digital format can come in, I mean, there's so many different formats, right? It could be a Kindle book. So if you've ever read something on Amazon, you might have read a Kindle book. So that's a version of a digital product. It could be a digital course. It could be a membership, right? Where you've got videos like this behind a gated wall, a digital gated wall, where people actually pay you on a monthly basis to go in and access that content. It could be workshops where on Zoom, and we do workshops, we do 1 day, we do 5 day, we do 7 day workshops where people pay you to come in and listen to you. I mean, you might have some guests. Sometimes I'll do workshops for myself. Sometimes I have 5 or 6 different guests. We're going to get Barbara as a guest on one of our workshops to come in and share her knowledge. But digital could be any format. So it could be a book, it could be a course, it could be a workshop, it could be a membership, it could be a webinar, it could be a one-on-one training, it could be one to many, or it could be one-on-one. So there's no limits when it comes to digital. It could be something that's as inexpensive as $4.95 to I've got digital products that are $25,000. And it could be, here's the best part, Barbara, not to cut you off, but it could apply to any industry, any industry. So some of our most successful clients are surgeons, are doctors, are pediatricians who are now able to come in and take this love for the thing that they have, or they're able to come into a different space and create their digital businesses. So it's not limited to anyone.
What I wanted to point out to our listeners is, if you write a textbook or, a scientific book, you're going to be having, like more than a year of hard research and sources that you have to, look through and corroborate. Then it might take another 18 months or so to publish. And then you have to ask yourself, like, who is it that I am publishing this for? In the end, don't you really want to attract your prospective clients to grow your practice, as opposed to all of that hard work with textbooks that you're competing with other textbooks with anyway? So if you were to like put out, like a Kindle book, which is attracting the public at large to attract your clients, with topics that you're already, an expert in. It probably would be a lot easier and faster for you. And what I wanted to point out is that Ty is one of our Kindle publishing experts. So would you agree with what I just said?
100%, 100%. And I think that, look, I've got a client of mine who I've taught her how to take her love for, so she's someone that is very passionate when it comes to crocheting and knitting, right? So she's a surgeon, very passionate about crocheting and knitting. So I took her, I brought her to a point where we're able to take that, put it into a digital course, and now she's selling these courses left and right? And it teaches people how to get involved with crocheting, how to pick the right patterns, how to go in and sell your patterns on like Etsy or eBay and platforms like that. But it's taken something that she can talk about forever, packaging that into a digital course, and then selling it on her own platform and teaching other people how to do the same thing. So I often tell people that, look, it's not limited just to a Kindle book. It can be anything and it can be at any price point. And usually you'll do the best when you go in and you create a product around the thing that you enjoy talking about the most. So that's one way. The other way that you can do it is if you are someone that has a practice and you're looking to get more clients, the actual best way, and we do this with a lot of our clients, is to create a Kindle book and you use that as your marketing piece. Now, in your Kindle book, what you're going to do is you're going to answer all of the most common questions that you see, and you're going to be authentic with those answers. And then at the end of a book, you're not selling, but you're just giving them a way to get in contact with you. And if you're genuine in your answers, if you're answering in a way that's different than what they would typically see online, and then there's a way for them to reach out to you, that's going to be the most cost effective, one of the fastest ways for you to get leads and new prospects in than you'll ever see anywhere else. Because you can then take that Kindle book and you can market it on platforms like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Pinterest or Snapchat or Google. And now you've got more leads than you can ever imagine knowing what to do with.
That's great advice. Can someone who isn't typically an author, still write a digital product online?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a great question. So most of the people that come into our universe, it's about 50-50. So half of them are passionate about writing, half of them are like me, who you're not interested in writing, you're just looking for a way to generate revenue. And there's ways to do that. So we teach you how to hire a freelancer, hire a ghostwriter, right? Hire a product creator. And then you give them the idea, and these people are the experts. They'll go out and they'll put it together for you. And then they come back and they'll help you to market it, to get visibility for it, and all the things that you may not be interested in doing.
You run a 6-month coaching experience called the Digital Business Builder Blueprint, which is a mouthful. Um, say that 5 times fast. Yeah. Can you walk us through what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the Digital Business Builder Blueprint, the first thing that we do is we get with you and we find out what is your ultimate goal. Right? So we'll find out what your ultimate goal is. So your ultimate goal might be to get more clients. Your ultimate goal might be to get more freedom. Your ultimate goal might be to make a little bit more money. So we figure that out. The second thing that we do is we figure out why. Because if you know why, then it'll be easier for you to stay on track, because many people don't stay on track, right? Once we know what it is that you want to do, why you want to do this, then we start building it out. Now, I have a real honest conversation with a lot of my clients. I'll tell them if this is going to be something that works, because I don't want you wasting time. I don't want you wasting money. And if it's not, then I'll steer you in the direction of something that has a higher likelihood of working. And if you do have an idea of something that has a great audience, that has the potential to work, then I work with you personally, one-on-one, to build out your entire program. Now, when I say program, it's whatever you want it to be. It could be your book. It could be your course. It could be your coaching program. It could be your membership. It could be your webinar. It could be your workshop. It could be your challenge, or it could be all of those things. So I'll show you all the things that I've been able to do and to help other people. And we work together one-on-one so that you don't make the mistakes that a lot of people make, and you don't get into something that's not going to benefit you or your audience, because you don't have unlimited amounts of time, right? I understand that. So I want you to be as successful as possible right out the gate. So that's what that program looks like.
You have such a great program, and you have, such a good reputation, Ty. But, like in the beginning, obviously nobody had heard of you. So, how did you get the word out so that your brand really, was top of mind for people? How did you market yourself initially so that your promotion really got you seen?
Yeah, that's a great question. Social network, right? So the more people that you go in and you speak to, right? And again, genuinely, authentically talking to people. When you're genuine, you're authentic, then you leave an impression on people. And then what happens? Those people start to go in and they'll tell other people, and those people go tell other people, right? So now the other thing is as you start to get things that work, you advertise and you market so that you reach more and more people. So the more that you can advertise, the more that you can market, right? The larger you can grow your audience. And when you're doing that, you then get those customers and those prospects talking about you. So it becomes a lot easier than people actually think, especially when you're dealing with the higher price points, because no one has the confidence to deal with higher price points. Everyone's at the lower price point. So it becomes a lot easier for you to be that lone wolf in your space.
So many doctors, look a lot like other doctors. How do they create a brand that makes them look unique? Like how did you do that? How would you recommend that to others?
Yeah, great question. So my whole neighborhood here is filled with doctors here, right? And I totally, everyone has a Tesla. I can see as I'm walking, looking out my window, everyone's got a Tesla here. And so here's how you look unique, right? Look, my wife used to be a real estate agent in Connecticut. When she first got started, if you've seen one real estate agent, you've seen them all. And I said, we have to make you look a little bit different. And the way that we do this is you give value to your patients. You give value to that person that's going to become a client. The beautiful thing about that is we're in a digital space, so it's really easy to do that. Very few doctors are giving value in the sense of it might be a book. It might be a video where you're on video and you're actually giving best practices. Now not giving medical advice because we don't want you to, get in any type of
Sure,
legal trouble.
sure.
But we say, like, look, if I had to give my wife some advice, this is you talking to your audience. If I had to give my wife or my mother or my son some advice, these are the things that I would tell him or her after practicing in this space for the last 15, 20 years. And you're just giving them basic advice
Hmm.
in terms of what you should do for your basic healthcare, what you should do in terms of longevity, what's some preventative things that you could do, and again, being within reason so that you're within the law, right, and being a little bit more personal. I think nowadays people want physicians and doctors that they can relate to. Because when you think about your doctor, you're creating this space. You're here and you're putting your doctor on a pedestal. But if you can even that out a little bit, you will have clients for life. And those clients will bring you clients. So that's what I found personally for myself is when you even things out and you speak to someone, those people will then go in and talk about you. And that's how your audience grows by leaps and bounds.
What's a common mistake professionals make when trying to market themselves, and how can doctors avoid it in their practices?
Oh, so one of the common mistakes that I see is where everyone will follow each other. So the biggest mistake is to go in and look at someone's ad, someone's marketing piece, and you think that you have to do it the exact same way, just like the real estate agents, right? One of the things that you could do to avoid that is give away free information. So in your marketing, always have a CTA, a call to action. And that CTA could be something that leads them to a pamphlet. It could be something that leads them to your book. It could be something that leads them to your video. And you're simply asking them for your name, for their email address, and their phone number. And then with that, you follow up with more free information, not sales material, but more free information. It takes nowadays between 7 to 21 touch points, valuable touch points, for someone to even believe that you're credible. And if you can do that, if you give them 7 to 21 valuable touch points of things that they can actually almost immediately implement, because this is the second part, it has to be a speed of implementation. So if you can give them things that they can go in and within that day implement and see results, then now you separate yourself from everyone else, your credibility level shoots up, and now they're totally tuned into you. Now imagine doing that 7 to 21 times. So it becomes easier to separate yourself than ever before now.
What would you say the most well-received or the most sought after lead magnet would be? And maybe you could tell the audience what a lead magnet is.
Yeah, so a lead magnet is it's just how I spoke about offering something of value in exchange for someone's name, email address, phone number. Sometimes we'll ask them for their Instagram handle or their LinkedIn profile link, right? So that you can keep in contact with them. And all of this stuff's automated. So in exchange for that piece of value, they're giving you their contact information. So it's a fair exchange. So you'll say, hey, I've got this video on 7 ways to do X, whatever X is for you, right? Whatever you're just great at. And you can, it has to be the thing that is so easy for you to talk about. Because if it's easy for you to talk about as the expert, it comes off genuine, it comes off natural. You're going to give them more than they are actually expecting. Because to your prospect, just because it's easy for you to talk about, to them, it's going to be mind blowing. So, whatever the thing is that your wife no longer wants you to talk about, she's tired of you talking about it at picnics or at the bowling alley, whatever it is that your husband is like, oh my God, he's toned out when you start talking about it, that's the stuff that your audience wants to hear about. Now you put that into a video because then people can see your emotions, they can see your passion. And you make that a 20-minute video. And what happens is not only do they get that when they go in and they log in, but they're going to start sharing it. And this is where the viral aspect of it comes into place, right? You make the video shareable, which is super easy. You don't just lock it behind the gate because you want that person to get so wowed by it. Look, my wife and I, my mother-in-law, she has COPD, right? She's got stage 4 COPD. And one of her doctors, an Indian lady, an amazing lady, the rapport that my mother-in-law and that my wife has with the doctor is so incredible that every time we talk to someone else, guess what we're doing? We're talking about this doctor, just as I'm talking about her right now. So if you can display that in your video, you easily get hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands of people, and hopefully hundreds of thousands of millions that are sharing this video because they see the authenticity sharing that comes across in your video there. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. So the
Yeah.
question is like where to put the video. Do you do the video on YouTube and then have a link on your website, or do you put the
Yep.
video on your website directly?
No, absolutely. So you're going to upload the video to YouTube. You're going to make it public, right? Very easy to do. You'll go shoot this video. You can use like Zoom in the way that we're doing this right now, or you can use Loom, which is LOOM.com. It's free. You turn on your camera. You can go in, you create this Loom video. You can also use your cell phone, believe it or not, because these things have better cameras than anything that you'll find out there, even the expensive DSLRs and those types of cameras. You shoot this video, you make it public on YouTube, you put it on your thank you page, which is behind your opt-in page, so that the link to YouTube is visible, and that's how people go in and they start to comment on it and they start to share it. So what will happen is when you do that, two things happen. Organically, people will see it on your YouTube channel organically, right? So this means the people that don't go in and enter their name, email address, they'll start to comment, they'll start to share, they'll start to save, they'll start to like that video. And that's what you want, that engagement. But then also people who see it behind your thank you page, they have, because you didn't make it private, which is a big mistake that people make, they now have the ability to go in and share it as well, all right? So it becomes a super simple process once you do it the first time. That's all it takes.
Well, that's
First
great.
time it might The first time it might take you an hour to figure it out. The second time, it's like 5 minutes.
Well, that's great advice. And listeners, like what's keeping you from doing that? Like get started on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This has been another episode of Marketing Tips for Doctors, listening with Ty Cohen, who's been giving us great advice, and his contact information will be on our show notes. Till next time.